come on, I fell asleep again? Video games are so boring. I wish there was a game that could really engage me. Challenge me even. You know, a game that can whoop my ass. Oh look, it's the critically acclaimed 2011 RPG dark fantasy title Drunk Sauce. What can I say about the original Dark Souls that hasn't already been said a million times? About a game that created a genre. A game that even more than 10 years after its release is still as great as ever. But, is it really as good as you remember? Or is that just the nostalgia talking? I wanted to know the answer myself, so I played the entirety of Dark Souls to re-experience the pain all over again. So buckle up, grab your trusty weapon of choice, and let's take a look at the original Dark Souls. Our story begins in the Age of Ancients, when the ground was grey, the trees were grey, and the dragons were very grey and scaly. But then fire came, and humans appeared soon after to wage war against the dragons. So this part can be summarized as everything was in balance until humans appeared. I feel like I've heard something like that before. They jumping me! They jumping me! But I can't put my finger on it. The dragons should have been the obvious winners, but then this mole rat looking salamander pulled a move I like to call the World War II Italian and gave victory to the humans. And thus the Age of Fire began, bringing prosperity for centuries to come. Until the fireplace started to go out. You know, boss, maybe it's just me, but I don't think basing our entire society on a campfire was a good idea. Shut up. And can you really blame him for being upset? Imagine how good the marshmallows that you cook on the first flame must be. To save his Age of Fire, Gwyn decided to refuel the flame himself, which turned him into the perfect marshmallow. Put him between 2 graham crackers and some chocolate and you get the perfect s'more. Since this moment, centuries have passed, and the fire is once again about to fade. So someone else needs to rekindle the flame. And who in the land will be worthy to become the next Marshmallow King? Need a bath? Yeah, we're doomed. Welcome to the Northern Undead Asylum, where we'll present you with the core mechanic of the Souls-like genre. It's called fuck you, get used to it. I mean, they just throw you in with 2 wet noodles for weapon, and they tell you,
yeah, go kill a 20 feet tall eggplant-shaped monster.
You can absolutely defeat the Asylum Demon in this first try, or you can take the side exit like a little bitch. The rest of the area is essentially a tutorial for the controls and basic mechanics, until we meet this guy. Hey.
Oh, it's you. Luckily you made it through. I have something to give you.
Thanks?
That is an Estus flask. If you drink it, it'll heal you.
Ugh, tastes kinda weird. Ugh, this smell is very pungent. What is this made of?
I don't know the specifics myself. My father taught me. He always said to give healing properties to the solution, it has to go through the kidneys.
The kidneys? Oh. Now that we're armed, we can finally finish what we started. Here comes me complaining. Look, I want to be as objective as possible, and I know that it's unfair to compare an older game to a newer one, but the best way I can describe my Dark Souls experience is geriatric. The first Souls-like I've ever played was Dark Souls 3, and I loved it so much that it made me want to try the original. But when I started that, I realized something. That the third game was made with the mistakes of its predecessors in mind, and that this game is as enjoyable as stale bread. Moving this lump of cheese around has been one of the most tedious experiences of my life, and watching a fight feels like I'm witnessing a dance competition at a retirement home. But maybe that was intentional? We at FromSoftware are proud to announce our newest game, Arthritis Simulator. Well, at least I'm not playing another mistake. But if I had to give a compliment, I think that this area, and specifically the encounter with the Asylum Demon, perfectly encapsulates what the game is all about. It shows that it will never hold your hand, that this is gonna be an unforgiving journey, and that you'll be pounded to the ground at every possible occasion. Slaying the demon will open up the exit to the Asylum, and will give you a free trial ride on the Taxi Crow. Welcome to the land of Lordran, which sounds an awful lot like what I usually say while playing this. Oh, Lordran! More precisely, we have landed at Firelink Shrine, the central hub of this world. And speaking of central, let's talk about something that everyone loves about this game, the interconnectivity. Instead of having a long sequence of bosses and areas one after the other, the world of Dark Souls is structured like a web where most areas are connected to multiple other ones. Let's look at Firelink as an example. Through this path we can reach Undead Burg, we can later unlock this elevator to connect to Undead Parish, there's another elevator that connects to the New London ruins, and past the graveyard,
Spooky, scary skeleton.
we don't talk about the graveyard. And all this would be even cooler if it meant anything. You would think that with all this interconnectivity, exploring between areas would be a breeze. But actually no. It just means that a 2-hour trip will take 1.5 hours. And then you only break 1 kneecap instead of 2. Sometimes I actually walk so much that I worry that I'm illegally crossing borders and that I will be deported at some point. Maybe that's why we were in jail. Since border control is probably after us, it's better not to stay stationary for too long. So let's start with the first real area. The Undead Burg, home to the most hardcore dietary practitioners in the world. Clearly visible from their bodies, made up of skin, bones, and the dust particles that constitute their entire diet. As you can see, this place is kind of deteriorated, but hey, at least there's no dragon. Questa è una marea di cazzate, mi ha detto che non ce n'erano draghi! This place is literally just a compilation of basic enemies and ways to die, but on the other hand, the boss is very special. Where he takes the cake for being the first boss capable of offing himself. But then we get to what has to be the place where the original sin took place. This church is the reason why there's so much hatred in the world. The bottom floor is fine, and it actually has the first instance of interconnectivity between areas that I mentioned before. But then you go up the stairs and hell ascends upon the mortal realm. Hundreds of vollows jump at you from every possible corner while you get buffed by this bastard, and thanks to the shitty hitbox you get stuck in every possible corner for no fucking reason. But if you get past them, the boss is not that bad, right? Wrong! There are 2 gargoyles with the longest halberds known to man who cover what little moving space you have with hellfire and are always up each other's ass. So you know what I did? I cheated. I summoned my boy Solaire, and together we slayed the lizard pigeon things. And all this has nothing to do with any kind of vendetta that I might have against the bell gargoyles, because the time that I might have rage quitted against them. Oh yeah, the bell gargoyles. I forgot to mention that we do have an objective: to ring the bells of awakening. The only way for you to know about this is actually by talking to an NPC, and this ties to a genuinely great aspect of these games, their method of storytelling. Apart from the intro cutscene, almost nothing is told to you directly. Instead, most of the lore is told through NPC dialogues, item descriptions, and the environment itself, creating a compelling way to tell stories and adding an extra layer of interactivity to the experience. And now, back to the torture. Back to the torture, why? What's the next area? How did they make something worse than what I just went through? I asked the question, and I shall answer it. It's dogs. The answer is dogs. These BMFDs know when you're coming since before you turn on the game. Will jump at you at the speed of light and sound combined, and goddammit, I'm stuck again! And then you have the boss. The boss. Which should be an easy one, if only we weren't cramped in the equivalent of a Minecraft dirt hut with 2 of those dogs. And after 40 minutes of non-stop torture, the worst must be over, right? To be fair though, this area wasn't as bad as the previous one. And apart from the fact that everything looks the same, which makes you get lost at least 10 times per minute, and the basilisks, which only while making this video discovered that their eyes are these little dots near their mouth, and now I don't know what these boob-shaped sacs are, everything else actually went fine. And even the boss didn't give me any trouble. Okay, who's it gonna be this time? Oh, it's just a little guy. Oh, it's not a little guy. Oh my god! Okay, I explored 3 whole areas and defeated all their bosses. I deserve some rest. Oh, this looks so comfy. Oh.
Hello, everyone!
Hello there. I didn't know this was your nest. Wait, what are you doing? No, no, no! Ah, damn it! Where am I? I'm back in the fucking building again! Yes, everybody, we can come back to the asylum, and this time everything is 10 times wackier. And there's also a new boss that is completely original? Oh, come on, is this just a copy-paste of the asylum demon? Well, if you are, I beat your ass once and I can do it again. Wait, what are you doing with that stick? Now, for the people that play the game and know what's coming up next, you might be thinking, oh, considering how we went into the lower Undead Burg and Undead Parish, this next part is gonna be a total tragedy. You fool! You underestimated me and that was your first and last mistake. For I went through the entirety of Blighttown without a single death. To be fair, I'm as surprised as you. Blighttown is infamous for its narrow pathways filled to the brim with enemies and traps. So the fact that I went through the entirety of it without dying a single time means that I won some kind of reward, right? Nice. I mostly see this area as a patience test, because if you just go through it carefully, it's not as bad as you might think. And since the journey thus far didn't have enough toxic goo in it, to reach the boss we need to go through a giant poisonous swamp, truly a place of all time. And who's the boss, you might ask? Ugh. Oh. Okay, hear me out. I think Quelag is the perfect example of a boss that is great on the visual department, but with a fight that is way too simple. And this is unfortunately something that I can say about a lot of bosses in this game. A lot of fights boil down to dodge, hit, dodge, hit, dodge, hit, and while it's definitely not mindless, and you can still easily die if you get too greedy, the fact that a lot of attacks are very basic and highly telegraphed means that it's not that difficult to deal with them. And all of this is confirmed even further by the fact that the only times it got annoyingly difficult was when I was facing multiple enemies. A single gargoyle and a copper demon by itself are not hard just to deal with at all, and the problem comes when their friends show up. Luckily though, I don't think I was alone in that thought, but we'll talk about that later. After the fight we can finally ring the second bell, which grants us access to the fortress. If Blighttown was a labyrinth, Sen's Fortress is the Minotaur. Surviving the former means you'll have to fight the latter. And your boy right here did it without a single sweat. Okay, maybe I sweated a little bit. And I also may have stumbled at some point. And I may have died a couple of times, and we don't talk about that. To me, this feels like a repeat of Blighttown. I mean, think about it. It's an area infamous for its narrow pathways filled to the brim with enemies and traps, and it can be seen as a patience test because if you go through it carefully, it's not as bad as you might think. And at the end of the dungeon, we find its guardian, the Iron Golem. Who's just another pushover, literally this time. And then it's the usual, you crush his kneecaps and stab him in the groin. You may call this brutal, but I call it a Tuesday. Alrighty, surely I can rest for a bit now, right? Denied! Wait, who the hell are you? Wait, what the hell are you doing? No, stop! Why does this keep happening to me? Welcome to Anor Londo, the city of the gods, and probably one of the most iconic locations in the entirety of FromSoft's repertoire. So, who's gonna be our first opponent? Die, you filthy lizard pigeon monstrosity! Have any of you guys seen the recent Nintendo Direct? They announced a lot of stuff in there, and apparently the Mario movie was so successful that they decided to retroactively add some platforming sections to Dark Souls. What kind of demon greenlit this room? And it's not like you just have to play the Dark Souls version of Wii Fit's tightrope minigame. You have to do it while these spider monkeys try to perform long distance acupuncture on you. I went through it way too easily. I got a bad feeling about this. By activating the magical corkscrew tower, we get access to the main cathedral, and to the most infamous part of the game. The Twins of Despair. Here goes nothing. Despair? More like despair of nuts. Oh shit, they're triplets! I hope everyone is seated, because we're gonna reach heights that many games wish they could. You know them, you love them, they're the best duo in all the lands, and they're ready to slay. Literally. Ladies and gentlemen, give your loudest applause to Ornstein and Smo! The undisputed best boss in the game. I won't take any questions. These two are essentially what the Bell Gargoyles wish they could have been. ONS are two fundamentally different entities, which makes it much easier to separate them. Plus, the arena itself, more precisely the pillars, give you an extra tool you can use for that purpose. But the fact that you have to check for two very different enemies at the same time is a challenge unto itself, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. But wait! There's more! Because when you defeat one of them, something historical happens. The remaining one will take the power of his fallen companion, and here a final duel will take place. This is the first ever second phase. Your opponent will have all their health restored, and all their attacks will be powered up and infused with lightning. A truly wonderful battle. But wait, you scoundrel, there's still more! For behind the arena, a door can be opened to reveal the greatest treasure Lordran can offer.
Praise the sun! Amazing chest ahead! Try holding with 2 hands!
How can beauty like this be even real? Oh, she has something to give us. The Lord Vessel. The chosen undead is granted the art of warping between bonfires. We gained the ability to fast travel! And with that, we finally reached the halfway point of the game. But before we move on, I want to at least quickly mention 2 more things that you can do in Anor Londo. With the first one being realizing that you've been fooled. Listen to me, big boobs are not real, you understand me? They're not real. Wake up! So what do you do when you're faced with something you don't understand? You shoot it. And that triggers a certain someone's grandma issues. And that someone is Noodle-Legs Fangboy over here. A boss that is not actually a boss, but a corridor with 3 attacks. And actually died once to every single one of these attacks, in an effort to show my viewers how shit this boss is. No other reason whatsoever. The only problem with dying to this boss is that the bonfire that is right in front of its arena doesn't work. If you die to Gwendolyn, you get teleported all the way back to the first bonfire in Anor Londo. And the only way to get back is to go through this bloody room again. I didn't sign up for funambulism lessons. Get me out of here right now! At least the second activity is a much more relaxing one. We get to enjoy this beautiful art exhibit. What is this Mario 64 shit? No! Did I get teleported to Sweden?
No, you stupid idiot! You're in the painted world of Ariandel, the land of snow, bird people, and half scalies.
So, Sweden.
Yeah, pretty much.
The fanfiction world of Ariamis is definitely not something I would call my happy place. The highlight is definitely the boss, but to reach her we need to go behind the shed down the well where your uncle is waiting for us. But I think he waited for too long because it turned into a wheel skeleton. This offensive joke of an enemy is yet another example of how great this game is. Well, at least we'll never see them again. The boss is Crossbreed Priscilla, and she's one that I find extremely interesting. She's unique in the fact that she's the only boss that doesn't attack you right away, but if you do fight her, she'll start the battle by turning invisible, and the only way to know where she is by looking at their footprints in the snow. Since you just killed a poor innocent creature that just gently asked you to get out of their house, you need to be cleansed from sin, and to save time you can just plunge directly into hell. And this plunge is very representative, because at this point the game takes a huge dip in altitude, like my will to live, because as they say, once you reach the top, you can only go down. And that's exactly what they did. The second half of Dark Souls is a notorious downgrade. It's generally well received the first half. This part includes some of the worst areas and bosses, not of this game, but of the entire FromSoft catalog. And for a game that at many moments makes people question their sanity for why they're still putting themselves through it, this is not a good prospect. Well, at least I'm not playing some other mistake. I'm sorry, man, it was just a joke, please don't do it! Since viewer retention is very important, let's first take a detour and talk about one last positive thing about this game. The pack of content now known as the Artorias of Abyss DLC was released a year after the base game, with a new Prepare to Die edition and a PC port of the game. I mean, that's crazy, am I right, Bloodborne fans? I've heard great things about it, and this was actually my first time playing through it. To enter the DLC area, we first need to defeat this golem, and inside of it we'll find a lady. It's like one of those toys that you break and find fossils inside, but this one has a human in it, so I guess it's more like grave robbing. Are you alright?
I wasn't in any danger. I was in my golden crystal golem cosplay, you wanker. But never mind that. I am Princess Dusk, and I cometh from a time long before thine to seek help.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you. Now I shall go. See ya.
Wait, you didn't tell me how to get there! Good old reliable internet. How to enter the DLC in Dark Souls. Defeat the golem, talk to Dusk, and get the pendant. From the Duke's archives? No!
6 months later.
Dusk, I got your stupid ass pendant. Was this always here?
Oh, shit!
Okay, I guess we're in the past now. Not sure why I needed a pendant, but I think it's better if I don't ask any questions. As soon as we enter the DLC, we are immediately greeted with a boss. the Sanctuary Guardian. And while this is the easiest of the DLC bosses, it's still leagues above many of the base game bosses. His moveset is the most complex we've seen so far, and the battle is relatively fast-paced for this game. It's a shame that it's as sturdy as soggy potato, but at least it marks a great start for this DLC. Behind the Guardian's arena, we discover a beautiful, lush forest. Which is just that, a whole lot of big sticks. But beyond it lies a boss beloved by many, Artorias of the Abyss. Fucking piece of shit! Follow me! Okay, listen up. I've been compiling every death from this playthrough, and I have irrefutable proof that this bag of purple goo has a core of bullshit. Proof 1, death number 93. The douchebag starts a jump attack. I notice and prepare to dodge. The attack commences, and as you can see, I managed to dodge in time, but for reasons like spaghetti or something, I still get hit. Proof 2, death number 96. This time, the douchebag decides to plagiarize Sonic the Hedgehog, and while he does hit me directly this time, it's not the first hit that kills me, but it's the second! This is the most Dark Souls 2 level BS ever BS'd in my life. What are you looking at? I'm not insane! All jokes aside though, I do think that this is a good boss. He's fast and relentless and with a great moveset. Unfortunately, it's just not of my liking. Mostly because I felt like it was slightly too fast compared to the speed of your character. After almost an hour, I managed to claim victory. But instead of going forward, let's go for an optional boss of this optional area, the Black Dragon Calamite. The first time we see him is actually while going through the Royal Forest, and later while exploring this valley. But if we go down at this moment, we'll just get ourselves fried. And I think that this is the coolest part about this boss. The fact that you don't just find the area, reach the boss and fight him, but instead you have to find a way to unlock the battle from the area itself. The key for this is Hawkeye Goth, a giant archer that just sits there looking very distinguished. We can ask him to help us by shooting down Calamite. And what happens next? Well, just prepare your panties. He grabs his bow, stands up, and just shoots. And he gets him first try. And you know what's the best part? He's blind. This absolute bro pulled the sickest trickshot ever with the ultimate no-scope equipped. When that arrow hit, every person in a 100-kilometer radius that grew up on Black Ops 2 got their pants wet. And I am person. Here he is, the Black Dragon Calamite. Piece of shit! I am so sad. I really wanted to like this boss, but there are some things that to me makes this battle incredibly unenjoyable. Take it away, Insane Alex. I told you, I'm not insane. Also, I am you. Why are you sabotaging yourself? You know what? Piss off. I have some explaining to do. This time I will show you proof that this overgrown gecko works exactly as intended. Death number 145. Nothing wrong with it? Let's rewatch it. As you can see, I dodged the head, but what hits me is the claw. Some of Calamite's attacks make it so that his entire body becomes a hitbox, meaning there's a chance you get hit by his headbutt attack while you smell his derriere. Also, his legs are way too long, meaning that you could be standing right below him and still miss your attacks. So to summarize, everything that is wrong about this boss is because he's too long. Well, at least we got this cool ring, I guess. That doubles the damage received by the wearer? Well, that was an hour of my life wasted. What do we have next? Artorias was blocking the entrance to the Ulasil township, filled to the brim with guys that I like to call Ulasilians, which sounds like something Dr. Seuss made after one too many edibles. But more importantly, did I talk about mimics yet? A staple of the fantasy genre. Creatures that disguise themselves, usually as chests, to lure and capture greedy adventurers. In the Dark Souls trilogy, you can actually distinguish a mimic from a regular chest by looking at their chain. And as you could hear, this area is so interesting and full of exciting stuff that I decided to talk about something completely unrelated. And last but not least for the DLC, the Chasm of the Abyss. This is what the whole world would look like if this Age of Fire ended. A dark and gloomy place. The perfect gamer cave. And at the bottom of it, we find the boss. Huh? Where's the arena? Not again! Manus, Father of the Abyss, the undisputed best boss in the game. What's that? I already said that. I changed my mind? This was my first ever experience with this boss, and I loved it. He's fast but not overwhelming. His attacks are varied and can cover different ranges and have different speeds, making him capable of easily throwing you off. And things get even more interesting and complex once he starts to use huge AoE attacks. He essentially has everything that I love about ONS and manages to pull it off by himself. And I now firmly believe that this is the absolute best fight that this game can offer. The only problem with it is that stupid bridge and the run back with that stupid witch that always shoots you in the back and it's almost impossible to avoid because you can't see her. Do you think I have eyes in my ass? Stop laughing at me, you harlot! Good things never last, do they? Because the only thing that's left to do now is go through the second half of the game. As I said before, the second half of Dark Souls is infamous for its noticeable drop in quality. As a first case, do you remember when I talked about the interconnectivity between areas and how lots of people love this feature? Well, for this part of the game, it is mostly gone. After obtaining the Lord Vessel, you need to bring it back to Firelink Shrine, where a wrinkly worm with human teeth and a canonically rancid foot breath named Framt appeared. Without asking for consent, he will vor you before shooting you off his back head. This is my headcanon, you can't convince me otherwise. Here you can place the Lord Vessel, and this will officially unlock fast travel and also unlock access to 4 new areas. In these you need to find and defeat 4 bosses that are holding a Lord Soul or a fragment of Wind Soul, which you'll need to access the final area. These 4 are completely separated from each other, and that kills one of the most appealing and interesting parts of the game. Yes, I know I ripped on it at the beginning of the video, but I can definitely understand the feeling of playing for the first time and, for example, going to the Undead Parish, take the elevator, and ending up back at Firelink Shrine. It is a feature that greatly enhances immersion, and its absence from this part is a huge low point. Another low point comes from the fact that you can complete any of these areas in whichever order you like. You might think that this level of open-endedness is good, but what it actually does is destroy another important feature of the game, its difficulty. And that's because the bosses do not scale with your level, meaning that it will get progressively easier and that the 4th one you take on is gonna be a total joke. And now that we talked about the general bad, let's talk about the specific bad. It's like when you tell someone they have cancer and then you get to tell them what kind of cancer. The first area I decided to go through was Lost Izalith, home to the Witch of Izalith and her Daughters of Chaos. Before continuing, I have to give a disclaimer to a certain someone. A friend of mine who still hasn't finished the game and that allegedly only had this boss and area not spoiled to them in any way. Even though this is their copy of the game. I just don't have time to play video games because I have to study and have a life. To reach the witch, we need to go through some of the most annoying parts of the game. Not difficult, annoying. We first need to go through the demon ruins. But oh no! The hot tub overflowed! Who's responsible for the... ceaseless discharge. Don't say it, 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 don't say it. Was that a result of you ceaselessly discharging? This boss is embarrassing. You just piss him off by desecrating his sister's corpse, run over to the entrance, and he gets himself stuck. Oh no, Step Undead, I'm stuck! After that, the lava level lowers and we uncover his action figure collection. I did not touch the corpse. I did not touch it. That's bullshit. I did not. Oh hi Copper Demon. 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 Hi Copper Demon. Please give me something good for a change. Was this an elaborate inside joke? Why did I feel the need to make a third one of these? At least the Stray Demon has some different attacks compared to the Asylum Demon. But this is just a Stray Demon after Mexican Night. Oh, look at these 3 little funny fellas. The council shall decide your fate. Oh god. You will be sentenced to another shitty boss fight. This is the Centipede Demon. And it's a boss, I guess. By defeating him, we get a ring that greatly decreases damage taken by walking on lava, making the next area an absolute breeze. That's right, everybody, we finally reached the best part of the game, the Valley of the Burnt Dragon Butts. Oh yeah, Lost Izalith is behind it, so I guess we'll talk about that. What is there to say about this place? Well, other than the fact that this thing looks like it came out some Teletubby creepypasta, not much really. And it's a shame, because there's a bunch of interesting lore about this ruined city. But I'm not here to talk to you about lore. Who am I? Vahatividya? Oh my god, is that the best boss of all time? In any community, there's always gonna be some disagreements and hot takes. Heck, I probably said a number of those in this video. But if there's anything in the world that can bring all of humanity together, is the fact that this boss blows fat chunks. This is not a boss fight from Dark Souls. It's from Super Mario 3D World. But you can't jump and you're constantly getting whipped around by these long woody noodle fingers. It's like a third time that I mentioned noodles in this video. What you need to do here is destroy the 2 orbs that rest at the boss's side. And once you do that, you can go in the center and finish off this creature that lives in a constant psychological pain of being the bed of chaos. And you might be saying, well, just do the thing you just said. But the thing is, there is an itsy little problem. After you destroy the first orb, the arena becomes Minesweeper, with the only difference being that the boss will fling you into the bombs. And look, I am not a religious person, but if there is a god somewhere, at that moment, he was looking directly at me. Because by some miracle, I managed to beat the boss at the first try. Next up, New Londo and the 4 Kings. But not really. Entering the 4 Kings arena right away will instantly kill you. So what you need to do is find the Covenant of Artorias. And to do so, we need to go to Deeproot Basin. Do you remember the endless stick collection that was the Royal Forest in the DLC? Well, Deeproot Basin is literally that, but in dark mode. At least we have Spinach Man here to keep us company. This looks like one of those things parents tell their children about when they're misbehaving. Eat your vegetable, kids, or else I will grow legs and come into your room at night and strangle you. Our objective lies beyond the forest. There we'll find a huge door leading to a grave dedicated to Artorias. And by approaching it, a giant wolf will appear, and her name is the Grey Wolf Sif. Her fight unfortunately is nothing to write home about, but on the other hand, she is capable of dealing a unique type of damage.
Emotional damage!
This is the biggest kick in the nuts they could have ever given us. They just had to make us feel bad about it, as if fighting a poor innocent doggos was not sinful enough. But there's something that I didn't mention when talking about the Chasm of the Abyss. In there we can find a wolf pup, who is actually Sif from the past, and if you save her before fighting her in Deeproot Basin, you'll actually get an alternate cutscene, where Sif will recognize you, but will still reluctantly fight you. Sif was the companion of Artorias, who lost himself in the fight against the Abyss, and she knows it. So when she sees you, she immediately recognizes your intentions, and she would rather kill you over and over and over again than let you fight the Abyss and possibly lose yourself to it like her old master did. Sif manages to provide a shining pearl of beauty hidden in this mountain of bad, awful, shitty, oh god, I forgot I'm playing Dark Souls 1! Speaking of shit, the Moonlight Butterfly. I mean, do I even need to say anything? If you use ranged weapon or magic, this fight is stupid. And if you're using melee, it's boring. I actually have more to say about the side area before it, you know? This public toilet-sized area. And that's because it perfectly shows the main visual problem with Deeproot Basin. Why is everything so green? Everything in this forest looks the exact damn same. And if it wasn't for me aimlessly stumbling around, I would have never found this random side area that for some reason has like 3 enemies that cannot be found anywhere else. Like paraglider frog and 2-headed lizard and tree. This is literally just a tree that moves and that you can kill. Also, I think they don't respawn because I couldn't find them again. Were they important? Did I destroy an ecosystem? And speaking of destruction, New Londo! I just mentioned this at the beginning, but you can enter this area as soon as you reach Firelink, so that's pretty cool. And that's also where the cool stuff ends. At first, the majority of the area will be flooded, and you'll need to find a way to lower the water level, all the while avoiding ghosts, which you can't normally hit but still have a hitbox? What's the point of them being non-corporeal and me not being able to hurt them if they can still get me fucking stuck? Fortunately, there is an item you can use that makes you able to hit them, and by using it we can go through the ghosts and reach this guy, who will give us the key to enter a mechanism which we can use to open the gate and drain New Londo. The dude also warns us about the Dark Wraiths, soldiers of the Abyss that reside in the lower part of the ruins, who you can just skip, since you can just drop down to the entrance of the boss arena. I did go fight them afterwards when I went to check that the area is just a whole lot of empty space. Yep, it sure is. But thanks to them, I discovered the power of poise. Oh, ooh, look at how I'm plowing through them, it's so hot. Oh, also, by opening the gate, we get access to an area that actually connects together many other areas, and its name is the Valley of the Drakes. That's it, get out. That was the Valley of the Drakes. Okay, let's actually fight the dudes now. The best way I can describe my fight against the four kings is by going back to one of the points that I mentioned at the beginning of this section, and that is the difficulty. This is the second of 4 bosses that I need to fight, and look at how little damage they're doing to me. There's not really much else to say other than the fact that this boss has as many interesting things about it as the number of things in the arena. Third objective, Seath the Scaleless in the Crystal Caves, which is preceded by the Duke's Archives. And this area is unique in the fact that it's the only one of the 4 routes that doesn't have a boss before the main one. So these 2 areas share both a boss and a huge level of disappointment. I do like the aesthetic of the archives, but that's because I'm a nerd and I like the vibe of old libraries. But this place is a disgrace to all fantasy libraries. There's no illusory walls, no magic traps, and the only magic related thing are these dumbass sorcerers. And you know what? I don't want to waste time talking about this place, so let's just quickly go through it and rip the band-aid off. The first hall just has a couple of basic enemies in it, after which you find Seath. Well, that was fast. But no, it's actually a trap, and we die. We then wake up in a cell inside the most impractical library of all time with the most incompetent guard ever. We just kill to get the key. After getting out, this other guy rings a bell that makes these guys get out, Then we use the same lever to open a door at the top of the library that leads us back in the archives, which we can now fully explore. And what a place it is! 2 big rooms with 1 rotating row of stairs each. This is just like going to Hogwarts. And after definitely less than half an hour, I get out and enter the Crystal Caves. And it sucks too, what do you want me to say? It looks like it's supposed to be big, but here's the thing, it's not. If you know the way to go, you can go through it in literally a minute. But it's fine, because I didn't know the way, and that means we can spend more time here, yay! But actually, where the hell am I supposed to go? Well, definitely not here. I ended up wandering through this place for at least 20 minutes. And after falling for the millionth time, I just gave up and looked at a guide. And you know what I discovered? That in the point where it says imminent fall, the point where it fucking says imminent fall, the path continues? This is the last straw. You can't keep getting away with this, Miyazaki. And the boss is right after that. But at the very least, the quality of the boss matches the one of the area. And honestly, what else can you ask for? As soon as you enter, you're greeted with this definitely not important crystal that when approached makes Seath immediately scurry for no reason at all.
Chosen Undead, can you please get away from my, night lamp that is definitely not the source of my immortality? Oh crap.
Then we pummel his weird crystallized sack and we get a soul fragment. Last but not least, Gravelord Nito, found in the Tomb of the Giants. To reach him, we first need to go through the catacombs, the entrance of which is in as you probably figured out, I was kinda burnt out at this point. My time in the catacombs and the Tomb of the Giants was just me frantically running around trying to find the fastest possible way to end it. It looked more like I was playing Super Meat Boy, to be honest. And lucky for me, as soon as you unlock this bridge, you can just quickly drop down the bottom and straight near the entrance to the boss arena. Easy enough, right?
Well...
You lied to me, past Alex. You said there weren't gonna be any more of those fidget spinner skeletons anymore. If you're struggling with this corridor, I have some advice, but listen carefully, because this is a very complex and difficult trick that I'm about to show you. You go slightly to the right while running. That'll be $500. And here's the boss, the Necromancer Pinwheel. I genuinely love the presentation for this boss. And the arena, even if small, is suitably creepy. So the fight must be great, right? Huh? This is such a waste of a boss. There's not even anything else to say. Especially because the next area is the rancid sewer that is the Tomb of the Giants. I firmly believe that this is the absolute worst area of the game. Worse than the Depths, worse than Blighttown, and worse than the Bed of Chaos. Because at least in that fight you can see what the hell is going on. I kid you not, the main feature of this area is that you can't see shit. But if you tiptoe around hard enough, you'll find a beacon of hope. Because the light that inexplicably comes from your body will hit a certain someone's shiny scalp. And that someone is... Jeff Bezos! Patches is a staple of FromSoftware's games, and while this is not his debut appearance, it still comes with his signature move. Today we'll be counting down our top 10 best kicks in games. Number in the ass, Patches from Dark Souls. Ah, you little piece of... Oh, wait, what's this? Alright, Patches, I'll let you go this time. After a little bit of trial and error, my favorite kind of gameplay, I find my way through this spooky anthill and find my way to the boss arena. Okay, I guess I have to drop down here. There he is, Grave Lord Nito, our fourth and final objective. Well, that's just a great way to start. Honestly though, his fight just might be the best of the four lords, which all things considered is not that impressive. Don't get me wrong, there are many stupid things about him, like the fact that you have to break your legs at the beginning of the battle, and the fact that he's constantly surrounded by skeletons. But there's actually a thing that makes this boss avoid falling in the Gargoyle and Capra Demon group, and that's the fact that he can hit his minions, which makes this fight so much less of a nuisance. And with Nito defeated, we finally have all that is needed to end this journey. We can finally head back to Farling, put the Lord Soul that we collected in the Lord Vessel, and gain entrance to the Kiln of the First Flame. Okay, this is it. The final boss. It's gonna be tough, but it's the only way I can prove that I can become the next Marshmallow King, worthy of linking the flame. Oh boy, there he is. Now come, let's dance, you rusty bitch. I got a slapping hand with your name written on it. Oh. Okay. Dude. Please, don't die on me like that! That was it? Oh, now the music is extra sad! But even if the battle is rendered much easier by them, I still think that this boss is peak. You've come to this place after many hardships. You defeated many powerful foes in order to be here. And by defeating Gwyn, you ultimately proved yourself worthy of linking the First Flame. But will you? At this point, you have a choice. To approach the bonfire, link the flame once again, and continue this unnatural cycle that Gwyn started. Or you can leave, letting the fire fade and starting an age of darkness, an age of men. But if the fire doesn't link, then Dark Souls 3 doesn't happen so much as is pretty obvious. After that, we immediately get plunged into New Game Plus, where everything will be resetted, including bosses, and every one of them will be more powerful, creating a never-ending cycle of madness that represents the trap of the Soulslike that you'll never be able to escape from. So that's it. I beat the original Dark Souls. And while this is not even close to being one of my favorite games of all time, I can still praise it in many points. So let's end this adventure with a quick little review. Now, I never really meant for this to be a true review video, especially considering the more silly vibe I'm going for, but like many people, I have mental issues. And the idea of having a long, comprehensive list of games and score just tickles my brain in the right spots, you know? Gameplay wise, this really feels like a product of its time, especially if you consider its successors. In many places, the experience is hindered by the stupid enemy placements, awful lit boxes, and sluggish movements of your character. But I feel like a lot of the issues were already understood at the time, seeing how the DLC brought many improvements when it came to enemies, exploration, and bosses. And speaking of bosses, these are almost always the highlight of these games. And while, as I said before, a lot of them are pretty simple, many others are considered to this day some of the best in the entire series. And even some of the ones that don't really provide any challenge manage to still shine through in different ways. And for those who are wondering, here's a tier list I made. Some placements might surprise you, but most of you probably couldn't care less. The story is one of those things that I really can't say anything bad about. But there's so much to say about it that I could dedicate an entire video to it. But one thing that I already praised above all is the indirect storytelling. On the other hand, the music is something that I didn't mention at all throughout the video. And one thing that I love about it is how it's managed. Almost the entirety of the game's background is silent, with the music being dedicated to bosses and to a few areas. But the single tracks, while all sounding good, kinda mix up together for me. Most of them don't really feel tailor-made for the boss. And I feel like this is confirmed by the fact that certain tracks are shared between 2 or even 3 different bosses. But there are still some that really stuck out to me, like the themes for the Bell Gargoyles, Ornstein and Smough, Sif, and of course, Gwyn, who has one of the most iconic soundtracks of all time, but definitely not the most memed. And there's also another track that really stuck out to me, but not for the right reasons. And that's the Bell of Chaos theme, of course. This doesn't sound like I'm fighting the creator of Demonkind. It sounds like I'm fighting a priest. I do think that a lot of my complaints come from the fact that I'm not playing a 2011 PS3 title, but a 2018 remastered re-release on PS4, which looks and plays virtually the same, in between Dark Souls Remastered not really being a remastered and the Demon's Souls remake on PS5 being barely more than a very good remastered. I think there were a couple of misconceptions back at the studio. Oh, don't worry, your turn will come soon enough. Overall though, while I'm not the biggest fan of this game, I cannot ignore its legacy. As I said at the very beginning of this video, Dark Souls is the game that kickstarted the Souls-like genre. And without it, we probably wouldn't have had games like Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. So Dark Souls, our relationship might be bumpy, but I can't do anything but thank you for laying the foundation for a great genre and for some of my favorite games of all time. And well, at least you're not some other mistake. He's right behind me, isn't he? Ah! So in the end, I'm giving the original Dark Souls a 7 out of 10. A game with an incredible legacy, but with flaws that time and newer titles did nothing but highlight. And I'd say that for this video we close it here. Thank you so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please consider to subscribe to watch more of me suffering in the future. Then press the like button, the share button, the notification bell, all the crazy stuff down there. Oh, and also feel free to comment how wrong I was throughout this video. So that's it for today. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Wait a minute. Oh god, I have to play Dark Souls 2 next!
Damn it.